guys, it's Peyton, and today I am going to be talking about a million books that I have read recently. I did not do a wrap-up in May, which is the biggest month that I have ever read, and I didn't even do a wrap-up for it, and then I didn't even do a wrap-up in June, which I read a lot of books in June too. I have so many books to talk to you about. It's like honestly a crime that I didn't do wrap-ups. When I do wrap-ups every single month, the month that I do better than any other month, May of 2021, I read 15 books, which is really freaking good for me. I don't think I've ever surpassed 15 books in a month before. I just didn't make a video. So this is me combining all of the books that I read in May and June. And you know, I haven't read anything in July. So like I just went so crazy in May and June that nothing has happened in July. I normally read. Oops. And yes, my hair is different. I already know I'm gonna get comments. So yes, I did do something to my hair if you are wondering. Let me know what you think of it if you hate it.
Actually, don't let me know because I do not need that. Right now, I do not want to cry myself to sleep. I have enough problems right freaking now. I don't need anything more.
It's 25 books. I read 15 in May and 10 in June, and normally I go really in depth for each book, and I'm gonna really have to hold back because I do not want to be filming this forever, and I haven't filmed a video in a month. I've been slacking just on everything. I haven't read in July, I haven't posted in July.
I am just falling apart. It appears.
Life has just been a little bit poopy recently. Sometimes you just have to take a break, and that's what I've been doing. So in May, the first one I read was Antidarken by Kirsten White. I listened to this one on audio. I've had this one on my shelf for a long time, and I've even met the author. Oh yeah, I have this book signed and everything, and I finally got around to reading it. Let's see what I rated it. So I gave this book a 4 stars. It was a solid book. It is a YA fantasy, and it is based on some real historical stuff. So it is like a historical fiction book, which I don't really gravitate towards. Originally, I just thought it was a legit fantasy book. Probably when I bought this like 20 million years ago when it first came out, and now the whole trilogy is done. It is based off of Vlad the Impaler, and it is a gender bent version where the main character is a woman instead, and that's what's so interesting to me about this series, because the main character, the girl Lada, oh my gosh, you know, she's supposed to be Vlad the Impaler. The woman, like, she's supposed to be killing everybody. You know, I don't know much about Vlad the Impaler, but he's a historical figure, and you know, just that freaking title, the Impaler, like that sounds very murderous. There's a lot of historical shit of murdering people, and just seeing her become the leader she is, but the freaking murderous leader that she is, the very cruel leader she is, she's so interesting. But there's also another perspective of her brother Radu, and he's actually gay, and like I don't remember what time period this takes place, but it is definitely not a time period where that is accepted pretty much at all. So seeing him grapple with that is definitely something, one, that is scary because you do not want to get him to get hurt. He's like definitely the small little cinnamon roll in this series. Like I definitely love him the most. Overall, I just really enjoyed this book, and it's been some time since I've read it, so, and I'm trying not to go too much into it, but I think it is a very solid start to a YA fantasy and / historical fiction, and I definitely recommend it to anyone interested in getting into shit like this. The next book I read was Counting Down with You by Tashi Boyan. Oh my gosh, did I love this book. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. This book swept me away. Look at all these freaking tabs. One of the most adorable romances I've read in a freaking while. This was a fake dating romance, and that's one of the things that like made me so happy, because I guess I really like fake dating and I didn't even know it. You know, Katniss and Peeta is one of the freaking classic fake dating people. You know, they had to fake date or they would die. So shit, that was some crazy stuff that I ate up, you know? I still eat it up to this day. This was a situation where this girl, Karina, her parents were going back to Bangladesh for some time, visiting some family, and she was using it as an opportunity for a month to, you know, have some fun while they're gone and break some rules, stuff that they normally wouldn't let her do. And her teacher asked her to tutor this guy named Ace Clyde this like really cool guy, like the popular dude in school that she does not think she's gonna like at all. They end up fake dating. She tutors him in English, but then they start to like each other. And I'm not describing this as good as it is. It's just the chemistry and the way Ace Clyde is 10 times better than any male character ever. Like, no man is actually this good, and like even the author knows it. Like, she did not make this person as a realistic person, and like you go into it and like you have to just know that and like just enjoy it. You know, enjoy this main character because he is not real. You will never find it, and you know that's depressing. We should have standards, but it's just he is too perfect. There's literally no flaws. You know, that might bother you, that might bother some people because there's literally no flaws for this character, and like, you know, that couldn't be a problem. But I enjoyed every freaking moment. I just had so much fun, and there's anxiety representation. This main character has severe anxiety. Dude, it's been a while since I've read it, but I'm pretty sure she wants to be, does she want to be an English teacher or something? I don't know. She wants to do something in that career. I want to do that too. I don't want to be an English teacher, but like I am an English major. I think she wants to be an English major in college. That's what she's trying to do, and her parents won't approve of it. They want her to be a doctor, and she is scared to tell them that she's not going to follow their dreams for her. Just read it. Like, it was literally just such an adorable story, and there was just a lot of relatable moments for me as an anxiety person. I have a lot of anxiety, and also I love English. I don't know if I said it, but I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. So the next book I read was Kate in Waiting by Becky Albertalli, and Goodreads says I gave this a 4-star. I believe I mentally gave it a 3.5, and I could honestly even lower it to a 3, even though I did give it like some good tabs. I just wasn't that thoroughly impressed with this one. The main character really annoyed the shit out of me in this one. Even when I finished the book, I was just immediately like, this character is so annoying. I just can't personally relate to her mindset. This one is just all about a girl and her best friend named Anderson, and they have communal crushes. They both have the crush on the same guy every single time. That ends up being bad when they legit get really far with this crush, because you know these crushes never get too far. It's normally just like a little tiny couple week thing. Well, this one dude comes to their school after their summer camp or something, and they're like both really crushing on this guy, and it's getting bad because they're best friends forever. It's gonna ruin their friendship, and it's just so stupid. Like, honestly, it's so stupid. The only thing that really saves this book for me is the other character named Noah. And I'm not going to try to spoil anything, but, you know, he's the guy that is actually good in this book. That's all I'm going to say. Like, he is the cute guy. He has such a nice personality. I love him. And that's the star player in this book. Everything else, I just don't understand a lot of her decisions. I'm 20 now, so maybe it's like, you know, she's just too young for me and I just don't understand her. But I really don't think I would be like this at a 16-year-old age. I wasn't like this. I wasn't this immature. I don't know. If you just read this book, there's just a lot of weird there's just a lot of weird things that she thinks, and I'm just like,
bruh, he doesn't like you. He doesn't like you. I'm so sorry.
I'm being mean about it now because I've had some distance from the book. Like, I enjoyed my time with it, but like the main character was just really freaking annoying about her little crush. And, you know, that's okay. You can enjoy it, but, like, dude, you gotta chill.
He doesn't like you.
Sometimes, when he looks at you, he just looked at you. It doesn't mean anything else. You know? The next book I read was Parachutes by Kelly Yang. Now, this was a random one that I found at my used bookstore, I believe. No. I bought this off Depop because I just loved the cover. Like, it was just so striking to me, and I didn't even really know what it was about. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. Definitely one I recommend. This one definitely explores topics such as sexual assault and just gross men, you know, being weird, just in general. So definitely be aware of that going into this book. It definitely goes into shit like that. I think it really goes hard and covers it really well. Like, I just really enjoyed the discussions coming in here, and you know, there's a nice author's note at the end, I believe, going into the author's personal experiences and how it inspired the book. Teenagers are dropped off to live in private homes and study in the United States while their wealthy parents remain in Asia. Claire Wang never thought she'd be one of them until her parents pluck her from her privileged life in Shanghai and enroll her at high school in California. Suddenly, she finds herself living in a stranger's house with no one to tell her what to do for the first time in her life. So that's pretty much this girl. She's really rich, and she ends up living with this girl who's not rich in California, and they end up going to the same schools together, and we see their different struggles with Grossman. And, you know, we see them become friends. At first, they really don't like each other. You know, it's just their friendships and their different struggles, and, you know, there's no really romance in here. We just really dive in to their characters and their life issues, and I just really enjoyed this book. I ate it up, and it was a thick one too, but I just thought it was a really important read for sure. The next book I read was Now I Rise by Kiersten White. I gave this one a 3 out of 5 stars. This was the sequel to Antidarken, so the third one, or the second one in the trilogy. I can't fully remember like what it was about this one that was just 3 stars. It just was pretty average to me, but I've seen people say the third one is really good, so I haven't read the third one in the trilogy just yet, but I need to do that soon before I forget everything that happens, because I'm super bad about finishing series, so I definitely want to finish the series soon so I can complete the whole thing and just be happy. For me, my issue was Lada and Radu were together a lot in the first book, and in this book they were separated, and their 2 perspectives, you know, were completely different things. You know, I really enjoyed their dynamic in the first book, and they have a very complicated relationship. In this one, they just weren't ever together. They had like 0 scenes together. So hopefully they reunite in the third one, because I do really like them together, and that's one of the things I enjoyed about the first one so much. My book just farted. The next book I read was Normal People by Sally Rooney. Now, I have a whole vlog of me going into my thoughts on this, so I'm not going to go into too much of what I'm saying because this video is going to be long enough. But this one was weird for me because I kept going on and off about what my rating was, and I ended up giving it a 5 stars. I was like 3 star, 4 star, 5 star. So honestly, go watch my vlog. This book is all about some lonely ass people, and I'm a lonely ass person like my whole freaking life. So that's why it spoke to me, and I feel like that's why it speaks to a lot of people. It's about a guy and a girl, and I believe they're Irish. I need to watch the Hulu show, but I kind of want to reread it because I listened to it on audiobook and I enjoyed it that way, but like I really want to physically read it and like soak it in that way and annotate it, because I feel like some of the lines that really struck me to my core, I just want to see them and take them in for a moment before it just moves on like the audiobook did. This guy and a girl, they meet in high school first. The girl at the time is the outsider that no one is friends with. They think she's weird, and the guy is like popular, everyone's friends with him. They start to kind of date, and he doesn't really want anyone to know, so they have this weird dynamic. So they date for a while, blah blah blah. Eventually they break it off. Then they go to college. They see each other again. The dynamic is shifted. She's the popular one now, and now he's the outsider. The lonely person is now shifted. You know, the crazy concepts and all the good ass lines and all the things that we explore from this shit is so good. And we have so many time jumps of these people as they meet each other again and again in life. The freaking lonely shit they go through, and like I felt it so hard. The ending hurt me because I experienced it in my life too, and like it hurt me on another level, and I'm still pissed off about it, and I just need to reread it. I really want to reread it like super soon. Honestly, I just recommend it, especially if you're a lonely ass person. Do it, because it might hurt you a lot. It hurt me, and I couldn't even figure out my feelings for it. So definitely go watch my reading vlog where I read this. The next book I read was a reread. It was Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I had another vlog of me rereading this, and I have a vlog of me reading it for the first time. I think most people know what this is about. It's a gay romance, and it's one of my favorite books of all time, and I just read it, and it made me really happy to reread it. So honestly, I'm not going to talk that much more about it. Just go watch my vlogs. I'll link both of them down below. I think it's the same vlog as my Normal People vlog. It is the Prince of England and the first son of America. in a relationship together, enemies to lovers. The next book I read was on audiobook. I don't own a copy of it, but it is Verona Comics by Jennifer Duggan. Also, by the way, this was a 5 out of 5 stars. So Verona Comics, I gave a 4 stars. This one I enjoyed because of the social anxiety rep that the main dude had. He was like one of the most accurate portrayals of social anxiety I've ever seen. Because I've seen other books that have had social anxiety, but not to the extent that he had, where it just completely overtakes his thoughts just every freaking second of his life. And I experience that all the time too. And I just feel like I've never seen it to this extent that I have experienced. I don't even know if I've experienced to this extent. I have, but I've gotten better and I cope with it better. He definitely was struggling with his social anxiety with his book, but it just made me feel so seen with the social anxiety. So if you definitely want to, see some social anxiety, check this one out. But this one was very good for some comic book shit, and there was also that dynamic of not knowing who the other person was, because they met at a comic book convention, but they had like masks on and they didn't know who the other one was, and they're texting online. So they're texting currently, but they also know each other in person currently. So it has that cute dynamic, and it was definitely a fun read, and I definitely recommend it. The next book I read was The Bone Witch by Rin Chupeco, and this one I've been interested in for a bit. And I found it for like $3 at my used bookstore, so it was a great find. And I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. The writing style in this book is just absolutely gorgeous. So I ended up buying the other 2 in the trilogy, and I just feel like each book in the series is going to get better and better. And I've heard it just keeps getting more diverse, and like there's queer characters and everything. And I'm like, ooh, I'm so excited. So I just feel like this trilogy is just going to give me everything I freaking want in a series. And the whole concept behind this series is necromancy. So the main character can freaking bring people back from the dead. It literally says, "Let me be clear, I never intended to raise my brother from his grave." So she accidentally raises her brother from the dead. She didn't know she could do that. Her brother dies and she raises him from the dead, and then she gets swept away in this world of these magical people. The Asha are these magical people, and in that segment of the Asha, there's these people called the Bone Witches, and those are the people that can bring people back from the dead. She is one of them. They're very rare and they have purposes in life. But this book is interesting because we have segments of the present. The regular book is written in the present, but then we have these other chapters written in italics that is the main character T in the freaking future. So her as a full-fledged trained bone witch, like a few years older, and we see that she's done something terrible, and I'm like, what the frick is going on in this series? It makes me so interested to continue on, and especially with the beautiful writing. Almost all of my tabs are for beautiful quotes that are just so outstanding and like amazing, and I just really feel like I'm gonna be a huge fan of this trilogy, and I definitely recommend this if you're trying to get into a new fantasy series, because this is one to check out. Like, it's a great high fantasy book. The next book I read was another one I don't own. It was an audiobook. It is A Cuban Girl's Guide to Tea and Tomorrow by Laura Taylor Namey. I give this one a 3 out of 5 stars. This was just a little romance of this girl from Florida, I believe. For the summer, she went to England, I think. She normally works in a bakery with her family in Florida, and then she goes to England and works in a bakery there for the summer, and this dude from a tea shop and her have this little romance. I just didn't really feel anything much for the romance or anything, and I wasn't that big of a fan of the main character either, so in the end I was just listening to this in the background and it just didn't impact me really at all. So it wasn't necessarily a bad book, it was just an average read, so I gave it a 3 stars. The next book I read was Happily Ever Afters by Elise Bryant. Now this book was pretty good. I gave it a 4 stars, but looking back, I feel like it might be lower than that because I was going based off of how I thought there was going to be a sequel still following the main character, kind of like with the To All the Boys I've Loved Before series. But then I found out that the sequel is actually going to be like a companion following one of the main character's friends. And I should have expected that. Like, I thought it was gonna be like that, but I was hoping it wouldn't, because the ending of this was so rushed. And like most of this book, the main character was like trying to go after this other boy. She wasn't going after the right boy. And she also was going after a boy that already had a girlfriend, and I know from personal experience how annoying that is. So it pisses me off when people do that. And I know she's 16, so she makes mistakes, and like I'm not gonna hold that against her, you know, but like it was still annoying to read about. And like I was hoping if we had a sequel where she like really actually focused more on her writing, because this book is all about a girl who writes romance novels, and she goes to a school all about writing and like, you know, the arts and stuff, and she starts this whole writing fiction course, but then she completely gets writer's block. So then her and her friend are like, okay, well, to get you back into writing, we need to get you into a romance yourself. So instead of going after the cute boy next door, they start trying to get her after the dude that already has a girlfriend. So like, what the frick is going on here? I don't know. I did enjoy the main character and her family, and, you know, the actual love interest that is actually cute. And I just thought if we had the sequel, we could explore like so many more cute things. But, you know, it's just gonna be a companion. I'm sure the companion's gonna be great. But now that I know that like this is the real ending, I feel like it's more of a 3-star. So I'm probably gonna end up lowering my rating, to be honest. The next book I read was Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery. This is the first time I've ever read this book. It is a classic novel. I read it for the Anne of Green Gables readathon that I did that my friends Brittany and Cass hosted. I did really enjoy this book. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars just because I feel like I don't have that nostalgic factor that everyone else does when they read this book. Though the entire time reading this book, I just had such a lovely time. It just gave me cozy little feelings, and it just gave me such happiness. And it's just about a little orphan girl that gets taken in by this little farmhouse family. And I literally, in my reading vlog the whole time, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's this husband and wife. Everyone's informing me that they're brother and sister, but I just assumed because they're adults that they were married. Leave me alone. I read right past that because it was like midnight or something, and I just assumed because they were adults that they were married. I'm so sorry. I just highly enjoyed how they did not even want Anne because they were hoping to get a little boy, but they ended up with a little girl by accident, and they were gonna return her, which is so sad, and they kept her anyways, and they didn't even like her at first, but they ended up falling in love with her because her personality just burst off the page. She just talks so freaking much, and you just can't help but fall in love with this character. I can't even believe that this was written so long ago because it just honestly holds up so well. I'm not a person that loves classics that much. The next book I read was Perfect on Paper by Sophie Gonzalez. I read this one because my head, you know, I have a chronic migraine disorder, so that was a bad headache day, and, you know, I had to just lay down and listen to an audiobook all day, so I listened to this one in one day, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. This one I picked up because it reminded me of the Netflix show Sex Education, and that show is all about this teenage kid. His mom is a sex therapist, so he grew up learning all about some crazy shit, and he ends up charging his classmates and giving them advice on you know what. This one reminds me of that because this teenage girl is giving romance advice through a locker and they're paying her. And I was like, this sounds so much fun. And this one guy finds out who she is and is trying to get maybe an ex-girlfriend back or something. Why am I not even remembering? I guess I read it in one day and it was like a little bit ago. He's trying to enlist her help. It was definitely a fun read. I think if the romance between her and this guy was stronger, I would have given it a 5 stars because like I'm definitely a sucker for my romance and like I really want the chemistry vibes to be really strong. But the definite thing to love about this book is the conversation about bisexuality and how this main girl is a bisexual woman and how she's always like dating girls, but how she is still bisexual when she is dating this guy. And I feel like that's just something that's not talked about enough, and this book really talked about that. It was such a great conversation to see. So because I read that Sophie Gonzalez book and I enjoyed it. I knew I owned another Sophie Gonzalez book, so I picked up Only Mostly Devastated, and I also listened to this one on audiobook because I had another huge headache day. I needed to just listen to a book in one day again, so that's what I did. This one, I believe I gave a 3 out of 5 stars. I didn't enjoy it as much as Perfect on Paper, which Brittany is gonna kill me for because she really loves this book. I think my problem with this is, well, one, it's a Grease retelling. I've never seen Grease. Y'all can kill me for that, but like, I just haven't seen it. It seems to me, after I have read 2 Grease retellings within this 2-month period, which you will find out later because I have another book coming up, it seems to me there's like a summer fling. I didn't see the summer fling happen. This book picks up after the summer fling already happened. So these 2 characters, these 2 boys already like each other and have already experienced their romance, and I haven't seen their romance, and I feel no chemistry whatsoever because I haven't seen anything happen between them, and I'm like, why do y'all like each other? Why do y'all like each other? Because I have no idea. What was that accent? I have no idea. So the main character goes to North Carolina, which is where I live, and it was really funny seeing an Australian write about North Carolina. I just didn't feel the vibes between the main character and the guy that he had a summer fling with because we didn't really see the summer fling come about. And if I saw them like come together, if I saw the summer fling itself, maybe I would be shipping them so hard. But I was seeing their awkwardness after the summer fling of this whole book, and the book was really short, so I really felt nothing for these characters at all. But it wasn't a terrible book. The side characters were fine, so I gave it 3 stars, and that's why we're here. So a book I absolutely loved was Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. This book was freaking amazing. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. I believe I had a reading vlog for this too, so I'll link that down below too. This one made my life so much better because it's all about this main girl with a chronic illness. She has fibromyalgia. I don't have fibromyalgia, but I do have a different chronic illness, and this was the first time like I felt so freaking seen because I'm just very recently, you know, trying to like get medications and everything for this newly diagnosed chronic illness that I have going on. You know, the things that she was experiencing with her daily things with her chronic illness, like she has a lot of similar symptoms and like things that she's dealing with, and like I just felt so seen, and she had so many good lines about just life with a chronic illness, and like I just felt so freaking seen. And I also just loved the actual romance in this book because one, it was dual POVs. That sounded so gross. It was dual POVs. We got the man's perspective too. He had a really great perspective. Like, he also had his individual issues as well, and I fell in love deeply with his character as well. You know, both of their characters were great, and the main character, Chloe, is just trying to get a life. She makes a list of things she wants to do to try to get a life, and she enlists this dude's help, and that's how cute it freaking is. I love it, and I'm trying to run through this list quicker, but it's so freaking good, and I'm so excited because it's a companion series, and I can't wait to read the other 2 books in this series. The next book I read was The Dragon Republic by R.F. Kuang. I listened to this one on audio. It's a really big book. I can't believe I read a book this freaking big. Like, I've been avoiding big books like this. I wouldn't have read it if I didn't have the audiobook, that's for freaking sure. I'm just not enjoying this series as literally everyone else. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, so that's definitely not a bad rating. But I just don't feel the immense love like other people do. Like, everyone else are like, this is the best series of all time. This is the second one to the Poppy War, by the way. It is a trilogy. And like, while I do think like the writing style is so great, I don't know. Like, I loved the first half of the Poppy War so much, and then the second half went so weird. If you know anything about the Poppy War, like, she's just so obsessed with Alton, and like, I just don't like that character at all. And like, we're tackling that in this one. I'm interested to see where it goes in the 3rd book because I feel like it's going to reach interesting levels. Because my favorite character is Nausea and Rin. Like, those are my 2 favorite characters, and I like those 2 characters and their dynamic together, but they're always apart from each other,
and it pisses me off.
And these books are so freaking long. I feel like if I was reading it physically, like, I would die. Like, it's just so much war. It's so much war. and so much like just nothing happening. So I feel like the audiobook saves me a little bit. Like there's just a lot of shit going on. There's so much shit that goes down in this, and I'm so curious to see what happens in the third one, because I really hope it's something that I'm hoping for, like shit that I have been yearning for, you know. The next book I read was Stay Gold by Tobley McSmith, and this one was an audiobook that I don't own, and I gave this one a 3 stars. Now this one was about a trans main character and, you know, like a love story, and I ended up giving it a 3 stars because I ended up not loving how like there was a little bit of a message like from one of the side characters who was also trans. He kept telling the main character, Pony, he kept telling Pony to come out to his whole school because, okay, so the main character, Pony, is passing in his school. I'm pretty sure Pony moved schools, and he's currently, like, trying to be with this popular cheerleader, which is kind of causing a conflict because Pony's currently trying to stay in the shadows and not cause any attention towards himself, and being with a cheerleader who's super popular, that kind of leads to that. He doesn't want the attention because he doesn't want to be exposed or outed by anybody. He feels like dating this cheerleader could lead to that. And there's also this side character who he's friends with who is also trans, who is really out and like proud, and like that's great for him, but he just keeps pressuring Pony and like saying just weird things like, I don't know if I can be friends with you if you're like not telling like your whole school and things like that. And like it's never like addressed by the end of it that you don't have to do that, like, because sometimes it's not safe to do that, like, you know, like it's not always a choice. And you know, I read other reviews saying the same thing and trans reviewers saying the same thing, that it just rubbed them the wrong way. So like I feel like this, you know, this is written by a trans author, so it's obviously like a well-meaning story, but it's just that one little thing. You know, I just feel like it would have been nice if that one conversation was wrapped up better with that character. I am interested to read the author's other books because I definitely did enjoy the book, and I definitely think there's a lot to love here. It's just, by the end of it, like, that wasn't like the only reason. It was just the romance itself. Like, I didn't really care about it. And like, you know, obviously the romance is a big deal for me. Like, I didn't really care about the romance, and I had that problem, and by the end I just didn't feel that much for the characters in general. The next book I read was Love and Other Natural Disasters by Misa Sugurura. I might have mispronounced that, so I am sorry. I believe I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. This one actually came out on my birthday, so I literally went and bought it on my birthday too. Like, I was so excited to get it because it's literally fake dating with women. Like, I was super excited. Like, literally, it's like double, like, it's all the fake dating. Like, we got 4 girls involved, and I was super freaking excited, and I definitely, you know, enjoyed it. It was 4-star. What didn't end up happening for me was I wasn't completely sold on the romance. It didn't give me the full chemistry that I needed to give it a 5-star. And like, I hate that that's what my reasoning is, but that's just what it is. I enjoyed what it was. I enjoyed the conversations, especially because the main character has this thing with her grandma. She keeps having to see her grandma, who just isn't fully accepting at all of gay people, and she hasn't come out to her grandma yet. But her uncle is openly gay, and he has been married to his husband for a long time, and they're still having issues. They haven't even spoken to the grandma in so many years, and this is the first time they even seen the grandma in so long, and like, she feels just so uncomfortable even being around the grandma because she's like, if she knew this about me, she wouldn't love me anymore. And like, I feel like that's such a relatable feeling that so many people can just like, yeah, that freaking hurts, you know? So I felt like that was my favorite part about the book, in my opinion. The actual relationships, like I said, the chemistry wasn't fully like killing me. I wasn't like screaming and squirming when like something cute happened, but I definitely still thought it was a really enjoyable read, and I definitely recommend it to anybody like interested in this fake dating, you know, thing. There, like, that's what it is. The next book I read was The Henna Wars by Adiba Jargurdar. I probably mispronounced that too, and I am sorry. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. I listened to this one on audiobook, and I've owned this, like, since it came out, and I just now finally freaking read it. I really enjoyed this one. It's just, once again, the chemistry wasn't fully there for me with the characters, but I really enjoyed the conversations that we had with Nishat. I think that's how you pronounce the main character's name. She had to deal with how she's Muslim and her Muslim parents are just so against her being gay and they don't know. Yeah, I don't think they know yet, but I do, like, trigger warnings for, you know, forced outing, because, like, that is something that happens, and, you know, like, some people might think that's a spoiler, but, like, some people would really be triggered by that, so I feel like it's something good to know. What happens in here is there's a girl named Flavia, and they both have this school competition where they're doing henna, which is the drawings on the hands. They're both doing it to raise money or whatever. You know, it's like enemies to lovers. They're both doing it, and, like, they're developing a romance at the same time while they're pissed off at each other, blah, blah, blah. The romance didn't fully get me, but I think my favorite part definitely was the conversations between her and her parents. I think what I didn't like, though, is I feel like it wrapped up into a happy ending. That's what bothered me, was I feel like it was a little bit unrealistic in the happy ending. Though, in the next book I read, I have something else to say. I read Honey and Issues Guide to Fake Dating by Adiba Jargurdar, and I gave this one a 4.5 out of 5 stars. It wasn't fully a 5 stars, I don't think, but I did know I enjoyed it more than the Henna Wars, so I felt like I needed to show that in my rating, so I gave it that extra 0.5. This one I felt was better because it didn't have that, like, forced happy ending, because it's just not natural, in my opinion. It's not the usual situation, and I just feel like in most people's cases, there's just not a happy ending. There just really isn't. I don't know if I'm just a pessimist, but, like, for real, those are the lucky people, honestly. So this one is enemies to lovers type thing too, but it's a fake dating thing. And these girls never really liked each other that much. I don't think they hated each other, though, so I don't know if it is enemies to lovers, but it's fake dating. That's what it is. I think Hani one day came out to her friends as bisexual, and her friends did not take it well. They just didn't understand it, and they were like, what? Like, what does that even mean? I don't believe you. Like, shit like that. And, you know, ew. Delete your friends. Bye. So she ends up, you know, lying and saying that she's dating this girl named Issue. Then she has to go scram and run over to Issue and be like, can you please fake date me? Because I accidentally just said we were dating to my friends to make it look real that I'm actually bisexual. But, you know, you are. You are. She was just scrambling to make her friends believe her. Really just drop your friends at this point. Like, they just suck. Issue's like, no at first, but then she realizes Issue wants to be head girl of their school, and Hani is kind of popular. So she feels like if there's any chance, like, this might make her look good if she's dating a popular girl. So they end up making some terms and conditions of fake dating, and they start fake dating each other. And honestly, I would love to reread this because I read it so fast on audiobook that honestly, I barely even remember what freaking happens. I just knew it was really freaking cute, and I loved how it didn't have this sugar-coated little ending. It ended on terms that just made sense. We're getting so close to being done. This video is so long. So the next book I read was Ace of Spades by Farida Abdike Ayumide. I definitely probably mispronounced that. I am so sorry. This one is a 5 out of 5 stars. I loved this book. I read it so quickly. I read it in a 24-hour readathon, so I will link that down below if you want to watch that. This one I was so excited for because it reminded me of the plot of Pretty Little Liars, because these two teenagers are getting like anonymous text messages from this creepy person that is just threatening them, and like their whole high school is just like getting all of these freaking secrets about them because this random person is just literally trying to take them down. We quickly realize that they're the two black kids in their private white kid rich people school, so they're obviously being targeted. They're racially targeted. It's not cute of the freaking person doing this. You know, that is freaking disgusting. These two characters never really talked before this happened, but eventually they end up teaming up together to figure this shit out because it's not good. They both end up having queer relationships and romances in this book, not together, but with separate people. They have separate POVs, and it's just like a really solid book that has twists and turns, and it was just such a fun ride that just kept me on the edge of my seat. It's, I believe, a standalone book as well. You can just read it in one freaking sitting if you want to. There's not a series, so if you're not into series, you can literally just have one book and know all the answers and just be fully freaking satisfied. But the really standout thing is you just fall in love with both the characters individually. The romances as well. Like, you love the romances too. You're gonna be here for everything, honestly. The next book I read was Heartstopper by Alice Oseman. Now, this one is volume 4. I've been keeping up with this graphic novel series because it warms my freaking heart to the core. It stops my heart. This one was just like all the other ones. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. Did I say I gave this 5 out of stars? I don't know. I read this in one sitting in that 24-hour readathon as well, and this one really focused a lot on the mental health issues that Charlie is going through, and we have Nick experiencing trying to help him and realizing that he can't help him alone. He's having to do a lot of waiting and just sitting around, like, waiting for the professionals to help, and like, it's so sad, and it's something I can also relate a lot to. I've been in the shoes, and you know, every freaking volume I relate to Nick on just deep and personal levels that I cannot freaking explain. Like, it's just so freaking deep. And I just love both the characters. Like, I love Charlie too, but like, Nick is just something else to me. Like, he just means the world to me. I just especially loved this volume. Like, I was so sad because I know that volume 5 is going to be the end. Why? My camera's about to die. No! Dude, it's about to die and I'm almost done. No. I have to zoom through the rest of these. Okay, the next book I read was Cool for the Summer by Dahlia Adler. Now, this one was a Grease retelling. It was a female-female romance. I really enjoyed this one. This one I gave a 4 out of 5 stars. It was pretty good. It just wasn't, once again, the chemistry wasn't ultra amazing to the point where I needed to give it a 5 stars, but it was definitely an enjoyable romance overall, and I think you need to give it a read. But I don't think it was, you know, an all-time favorite, but it was definitely something I enjoyed. And honestly, I don't have much more to say about it. It was just this girl who finally got the guy that she has been crushing on her whole life, but she had this amazing summer with this girl, and she didn't even know that she was into girls, but she might be, and this girl is now at her high school too, and even though she's now with the guy of her dreams, she kind of wants this other girl now. Then I read It Goes Like This by Emile Moreland. This was 5 out of 5 stars. This one is about a band that blew up. Like, they're a Grammy Award winning band. They're freaking huge. And I loved this book so much because they're like a queer band. They broke up though. So this is the band after they broke up. It's like this depressing thing because one of the characters is so sad that the band broke up. And she wants them back together so bad. So I literally had to switch cameras because my other one died. And I only had one battery for that because I've been filming for so freaking long. Like, literally, this is going to be hell to edit. But what I was saying about this book, and I really don't want to rush it because I loved this book so much and I want y'all to read it. Sorry that the audio is going to be worse and probably the camera quality, but this amazing, crazy band of teenagers from a small town grew up together and did some crazy, amazing things, you know, kind of like One Direction. Like, that's just the hype I'm gonna give it because, you know, that's just what I'm gonna compare it to. They won so many awards. The one girl that didn't want the band to go away is devastated when she finds out that they're gonna do like a charity concert event to bring the band together one last time because their hometown had this huge storm that just ruined everything and some people died and like there's architecture that just got destroyed and they really just have to, you know, help raise some money since their band is so huge that having a concert like that with them reunion reuniting with them reuniting like that would bring in a lot of money. This also leads to us wondering as the reader, like, are they gonna get back together as a band? And we have perspectives from each and every single one of the characters. These two girls actually were in a relationship before the band split up. It's interesting because once the band split up, they actually broke up. It's been like a year and a half or something. They were like madly in love. Like they were together for 2 years, like super cute. We see all of like the past, like we see their past cute moments, and like I literally am just so in love with their romance, and like it's one of those things where you're just like shipping them so hard and you want them to get back together so freaking badly while you read this book. So that's the cute romance of this book, to be honest. Literally, Gina, she moved on to be a freaking Oscar-winning movie star. Like, she is in all of these crazy movies. Like, she's legendary. I literally love her so much. Then we have Steph over here. Steph is the interesting one. Literally, no one knows what happened to them. Like, they moved off in the shadows and went back into their hometown. They are one of the most interesting characters because they're actually non-binary, and they felt so suffocated by being in this so-called girl band, and that was the thing that was like the selling point of their band. They were in this queer girl band. That literally ruined Steph. That's one of the reasons the band fell apart. So Steph has such an interesting and important perspective. I definitely want this book to have more hype, so go hype this book up and read it. The final freaking book, the 25th book. Oh my gosh, we are finally freaking here. It's Sweet and Bitter Magic by Adrienne Tooley. I believe I gave this one, let's see, I can't remember any of my ratings apparently. I give this one a 3 out of 5 stars. Unfortunately, this was one of my most anticipated books of the year, and obviously 3 out of 5 stars is not a bad rating, but for me, that's just not the rating I was hoping for a most anticipated release of the year. This was a female romance fantasy book, and like I was super excited for this. It just didn't end up being what I wanted. The romance was definitely insta-love, in my opinion. It was not what I was wanting at all. This is the concept of this fantasy. So the main witch, this is like a witch book. This witch got cursed by other witches to never feel emotions, so she can't love. So she has no emotions whatsoever, and these two characters go on a journey together because they're trying to accomplish something, you know, normal freaking journeys in fantasy novels. They're going on a journey together, and like this is like the time period where you're supposed to fall in love, you know, but like she has no emotions. So how is she like developing feelings? I have no freaking idea. I get if the other character is developing feelings for her, but I still don't understand how, because they didn't really share any nice moments. By the time when the other main character,
what's her name?
When the other main character, Rin, when she was like, I think I'm falling in love with her, when she said that, you know, I don't know what time we were in because I was like audiobooking it, but when she started to say that, and we were at a point in the novel when like nothing had happened between the two girls yet where I felt any romantic chemistry, I was like, okay, well, now I know that this book is not going to be it for me, because like
I need romantic chemistry.
And like they just had nothing between them. The actual fantasy vibes, you know, since this was a fantasy standalone, I just feel like there just wasn't enough room to actually explore the world. I thought the idea that we had in here for the villain was a bit fun. Like I enjoyed it. I did have like a bit of a gasp. You know, I was a little stupid. Like it was kind of obvious. But like I had a gasp. I was like on my exercise bike and I was like, like, I was excited where the book was going, the plot-wise, but I still feel like it was a standalone, and I feel like if we really did, like, make this into a series, and we, you know, prolonged this romance, and we prolonged the plot, and, you know, if we didn't just jam it all into one freaking book, it would have been so much better. I just definitely prefer fantasy series. I just don't want to insta-love it, you know? There's just not enough time for me to get behind you. It's really hard for me to fall in love with two characters and their romance in such a short novel, but especially when you add world building and all of the fantasy elements that you have to set up as well. Like, it's just really hard to do. There's some books that do it. It's very difficult to do. So those are the 25 books. This video is 20 million years long. Are we freaking surprised? It's me. I knew I couldn't talk quickly about any of these books, but I was hoping for the best. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I am really glad that I posted another video because it's been like a month, and hopefully I can keep going because I did enjoy filming this and I didn't get sweaty. Like, sometimes I really get sweaty during filming. Like, I don't know if I just talk too fast or what, but like today I was fine. Like, okay. Like this video, comment down below. Have a good day. Please subscribe. Make sure to follow all my social medias, which are linked down below, and go click the bell button, which is right by the subscribe button, which you should already clicked, and goodbye.